Welcome to Weekly News Highlights. Let's begin with the keywords that made headlines this week. President Lee Jae-myung has called for a nationwide response to what he described as a climate disaster, urging authorities to strengthen protections for vulnerable groups and prepare for prolonged extreme weather conditions. The government has unveiled a real estate tax reform package that includes changes to property taxes, capital gains tax deductions, and housing-related tax benefits for homeowners and renters. The Lee Jae-myung administration has outlined its diplomatic priorities, highlighting plans for nuclear-powered submarines, the transfer of wartime operational control, and efforts to promote peace on the Korean Peninsula. With extreme weather showing no signs of easing across Korea, President Lee Jae-myung renewed calls for an all-out government response to the heat wave. Our Blue House correspondent Song Yujin reports.
지금은 사실상 국가적인 기후 재난 상황입니다.
That was President Lee Jae-myung's assessment of Korea's record-breaking heat wave, with temperatures exceeding 40 degrees Celsius in parts of the country for several consecutive days. Speaking at a weekly meeting with his top aides on Thursday, Lee urged authorities to respond with the highest level of urgency, with a particular focus on protecting vulnerable groups.
모든 재해는 언제나 어려운 처지의 국민에게 더 큰 위협으로 다가옵니다. 고시원, 쪽방촌, 비닐하우스 같은 취약시설 거주 주민이나 또 공사 현장, 농어촌, 주차장 등에서 일하는 노동자들의 안전에 가용한 행정력을 최대한 집중해야 되겠습니다.
The president also emphasized the need for long-term adaptation. He called for improvements to housing, water infrastructure, and heat response facilities to adjust to what he described as the new normal of extreme heat. Pointing to traditional outdoor markets where businesses often struggle during the summer because of limited cooling facilities, Lee instructed officials to consider including related infrastructure projects in next year's budget. Earlier in the day, the president chaired a joint meeting with relevant ministries and local governments on the baking weather. A key issue was the worsening drought in Korea's southern regions.
당분간 비 예고도 없는 만큼 대체 용수 공급 또 양수 장비 가동 등을 적극 추진해서 안정적인 용수 공급에 차질이 없게 해야 되겠습니다.
Reservoir levels in the region remain at just 50 to 70% of their seasonal average after last month's monsoon rains largely bypassed the south, leaving the area with prolonged extreme heat and low precipitation. 송유진, Arirang News.
After a fierce political battle over contentious issues during July's extraordinary session, this month's session kicked off with plenty of turbulence between the main political parties. For more on the key issues, we have our political correspondent An Sung-jin with us in the studio. Welcome, Sung-jin.
Thanks for having me, Soo-jin.
All right, so let's get right into it. So the extraordinary session for August kicked off earlier than scheduled. So what was the reason behind this?
The National Assembly's extraordinary session for this month would have convened automatically on August 16th. However, at the request of the main opposition People Power Party, the session officially began last Sunday, that is August 2nd. Now, despite beginning early, parliamentary activity is expected to remain limited until around the ruling Democratic Party's National Convention on the 17th. The DP's ongoing leadership race alongside peak summer vacation season is appearing to delay legislative business. The PPP criticized the delay, accusing the ruling party of pushing legislation to speed up bill processing, while effectively suspending parliamentary activity for nearly 2 weeks. DP lawmakers say they will be focused on regional primaries in the tightly contested leadership election, with party officials expecting the next plenary session to be held as early as August 13th.
I see. Then what are some of the issues that are expected to be proposed during this month's session?
Right, so the ruling party is set to push ahead with a series of revisions aimed at speeding up the passage of legislation and curbing opposition filibusters. The first bill expected to be put to a vote is the so-called fast-track bill, which would shorten the legislative review period from a maximum of 330 days to just 90 days. The PPP launched a filibuster against the measure in July, but the debate ended with the close of July's extraordinary session, leaving only a final vote. Other amendments to the National Assembly Act would be proposed, especially in regards making it easier to end filibusters by lowering the threshold to introduce a motion to close debate. Now, this includes allowing committee chairs to be replaced if they are found to have deliberately delayed the legislative proceedings. And DP lawmakers are also considering banning unauthorized audio equipment during plenary sessions following an incident last year when a lawmaker used a wireless microphone after his official microphone was cut off during a filibuster. The PPP, however, has vowed to resist what it calls the ruling party's attempt to rewrite parliamentary rules.
Right, and last but not least, Sung-jin, the leadership party for the ruling party is nearing. So what can you tell us about this?
Right, so the ruling Democratic Party has its national convention in almost a week's time. That is on August 17th, and it is a three-way race. The race for the leadership has tightened after the first two rounds of regional voting resulted in a razor-thin contest between candidates Chung Cheong-rae and Kim Min-seok. Last Sunday, Chung won the Busan, Ulsan, and Gyeongsang-namdo province regional primary, defeating Kim by around 3 percentage points. The results came a day after Kim narrowly edged Chung in the opening Chungcheongdo province's regional vote by just 0.44 percentage points, a margin of only around 300 votes. Combined results from the first two regional contests now put Chung slightly ahead of Kim, while Song Young-gil remains in third place. Chung continues to attack Kim over his past departure from the party and highlighting his own role in the party.
We overcame the illegal December 3rd martial law declaration, and through that, the Lee Jae-myung administration was born. The people saved this country, and I will take the lead in making the government a success.
Meanwhile, Kim united with the other candidates home to raise concerns over factional politics within the party.
When the ruling party and government are out of sync, elections become unstable and the stock market wavers. If that instability continues, even the gateway to our golden era will begin to shake. Should our mission be thrown off course?
With the margin between the top two candidates still under 1 percentage point, analysts say the Democratic Party leadership race remains too close to call.
All right, we'll continue to keep an eye on how things unfold. So thank you so much for coming in today, Sung-jin.
My pleasure as always.
Japan's latest security report calls for closer cooperation with Seoul and Washington in response to growing regional threats. But it has also drawn a swift protest from Seoul over its renewed territorial claim to Korea's Dokdo Islands. Oh Seong has the details.
Seoul has called on Tokyo to retract its repeated claim over the Korean islets of Dokdo, published in Japan's latest defense white paper. In a regular briefing Tuesday, Foreign Ministry spokesperson Park Do-sun responded to Japan's territorial claim made for the 22nd consecutive year.
The government strongly protests Japan's renewed unjust claim to Dokdo in its defense white paper and urges its immediate withdrawal. Dokdo is clearly Korean territory, historically, geographically, and under international law. Japan's claim has no bearing whatsoever on Korea's sovereignty over Dokdo, and the government will respond firmly to any provocation concerning Dokdo.
Seoul's position is clear. There is no territorial dispute. Dokdo has long been Korean territory under international law and historical records. The Korean Empire formally placed the islets under Uldogun County in 1900, 5 years before Japan attempted to incorporate them. Korea also maintains effective control, with police personnel, government facilities, and civilian residents stationed there. The Japanese embassy's minister, Kazuo Chujo, was called into the foreign ministry at around 3 p.m. Despite the renewed claim, Japan's white paper called Korea an important neighbouring country and partner for the third year in a row. Tokyo said cooperation with Seoul was increasingly important in responding to North Korea's nuclear and missile programs, as well as maritime security threats and major disasters. It also stressed closer trilateral coordination among Korea, Japan, and the United States. The document warned that a crisis similar to Russia's invasion of Ukraine could also occur in East Asia. China's growing military activity was again described as Japan's greatest strategic challenge. Tokyo pointed to Beijing's operations around Taiwan, its expanding presence in the Western Pacific, and closer military coordination with Russia. It also raised concern over joint Chinese and Russian bomber flights and naval activity near Japan. North Korea's expanding military cooperation with Russia was also highlighted as another major threat. Tokyo warned that the transfer of weapons, technology, and operational experience could strengthen Pyongyang's military capabilities over time. The assessment comes as Japan moves to revise its key national security documents and further strengthen its defense posture. Oh Seong, Arirang News.
The Lee Jae-myung administration has unveiled its foreign policy roadmap for the second half of the year, outlining plans to pursue nuclear-powered submarines, regain wartime operation control, and seek renewed engagement with North Korea. Kim Do-yeon reports.
At a briefing on diplomacy and national security for the second half of the year on this Wednesday, President Lee Jae-myung emphasized that peace and stability on the Korean Peninsula are the foundation for the nation's future.
우리 대한민국의 대도약 그리고 지속적인 성장 거기다 국민들의 더 나은 삶을 위해서는 한반도의 평화와 안정이 가장 중요합니다.
To support this vision, the Foreign Ministry is driving a G7 plus diplomatic initiative, having already completed bilateral summits with the leaders of the US, China, and Japan within the president's first year. Foreign Minister Cho Hyun announced that Seoul will expedite consultations with Washington to secure the requirements to build nuclear-powered submarines, as well as uranium enrichment and reprocessing capabilities. On the defense front, the government is accelerating efforts to achieve a self-reliant military posture.
어떤 외부의 도움도 없이 우리 스스로의 힘으로 지켜나가는 자주 국방은 우리의 가장 큰 과제다. 그리고 당연히 주권의 일부인 군 지휘권도 스스로 행사해야 되겠죠. 당연히.
The Ministry of National Defense confirmed it is holding multi-channel talks with the U.S. to regain wartime operational control, or OPCON. Partial evaluations for an OPCON transfer will be conducted during the upcoming Ulchi Freedom Shield joint exercises, aligning with President Lee's directive that independent military command is a core element of national sovereignty. Regarding inter-Korean relations, President Lee ordered the Unification Ministry to maintain a policy of peace and coexistence, stressing that abandoning engagement strategies will be harmful despite the current freeze in dialogue.
근데 그건 결국 국민들한테는 나쁘죠. 국가 공동체에게는 해악이죠. 그래서 힘들긴 하지만 우리가 평화와 공존의 정책을 계속해 나가야 되겠다.
To break the deadlock, the Unification Ministry plans to push for an inter-Korean summit during the first half of the president's term. The ministry aims to utilize the upcoming APEC summit to launch a four-party Korean Peninsula peace process, actively seeking China's role in the initiative. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
The government has announced a new tax reform package that includes major changes to real estate taxes, capital gains taxes, and tax deductions for homeowners and renters. Our economics correspondent Kim Bo-kyung explains.
With Seoul apartment prices posting their sharpest first half gain in 18 years, despite tough government regulations, the administration has unveiled a tax reform plan targeting property owners. One of the major reforms raises the basic tax deduction for owner-occupied single homes to 1.4 billion won, while lowering it to 900 million won if the owner does not reside in the property. The move is designed to ease the financial burden on primary residents while normalizing taxes for non-occupiers. The government will also overhaul the comprehensive real estate tax system, shifting from a home count model to one based strictly on property value. Differentiated tax rates for multiple homeowners will be phased out by 2028. However, tax rates for properties valued between 600 million and 1.2 billion won will rise starting next year.
Our primary goal in rationalizing the real estate tax system is to ensure fairness. That means offering greater tax benefits for owner-occupied homes, particularly for middle-class households, while ensuring an appropriate tax burden on higher-value properties.
Under existing rules, residents earning capital gains were eligible for an annual basic deduction of 2.5 million won. Under the new plan, the basic capital gains deduction will increase tenfold, from 2.5 million to 25 million won, for single homeowners who have lived in their property for over 10 years, aiming to reduce the tax burden on long-term residents. Multiple property owners selling homes in regulated areas previously faced heavy capital gains tax surcharges. To encourage owners to bring properties to market, the government will temporarily ease these surcharges during a targeted window through 2027 and 2028.
Considering the normalization of property holding taxes, the government will temporarily extend capital gains tax relief for multi-homeowners through 2028, giving those who wish to sell a viable opportunity to bring their properties to market.
Despite such tax reforms to curb house prices, one expert says property owners are not going to sell as the price keeps going higher.
Even with higher taxes, many homeowners will likely hold onto their properties due to strong expectations of future price growth. Because physical land for new housing is limited in Seoul and the capital region, expanding urban redevelopment and reconstruction is essential to truly stabilizing prices.
Meanwhile, the tax reform package also includes expanded tax credits for monthly rent payments to ease housing costs for working-class households, while directing more fiscal incentives toward non-metropolitan regions to foster balanced local growth. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
Consumer inflation eased back into the 2% range last month as slowing increases in oil and agricultural prices helped moderate overall price growth. Yoo Ji-yeon explains.
Consumer price inflation returned to the 2% range for the first time in 3 months. According to the Ministry of Data and Statistics on Tuesday, consumer price inflation, which has stayed in the 3% range in May and June, slowed in July with just a 2.8% increase compared to the same time the previous year. Petroleum product prices remain well above last year's level, though the rate of gain narrowed last month. Petroleum product prices rose 15.5% in July compared to the previous year, cooling down from a nearly 25% increase in June. Officials attributed the slowing down to falling global oil prices and the extension of the government's price cap.
As for petroleum products, the pace of price increases slowed from the previous month, largely due to a slight decline in global oil prices and the government's market stabilization measures, including its price cap policy.
Slower growth in prices for agricultural, livestock, and fisheries products also contributed to the return to the 2% range. Prices in this sector rose just 0.9% on year last month, narrowing significantly from increases of more than 3% in June. However, for leafy vegetables, recent extreme heat has led to a price surge. Compared to the previous month, lettuce prices rose more than 17% and spinach jumped nearly 43%. The government pledged to closely monitor these trends, as hot weather in July and August usually affects general vegetable prices. With government-backed discount programs continuing into August, officials noted that upcoming price movements are expected to hinge on the impact of these measures. Lee Ju-yeon, Arirang News.
Once seen as a niche product, foldable smartphones are gaining mainstream appeal, particularly among young people. Our business correspondent Park Jin-an visited a Samsung store in Seoul to hear why buyers are choosing the latest Galaxy Fold and Flip models.
Even before the store's opening time, groups of people are already lining up to become among the first to buy Samsung Electronics' newly released Galaxy Z Fold and Z Flip series. Despite being the most expensive smartphones in Samsung's lineup, the devices have already been a massive success, with more than 1.44 million units ordered in Korea during the 7-day pre-order period. So, the new Fold series doesn't just unfold the screen, but it also unfolds consumers' wallets and their willingness to spend. And while the Z Fold series was long considered a phone for relatively older adults, recent reports show that the majority of those who pre-ordered them were actually in their teens to their 30s.
I think the fact that it's wider really breaks away from the conventional foldable design we're used to. It also gives you more ways to personalize and decorate the device. It seems like a great fit for short-form content like YouTube Shorts and Instagram Reels, which are especially popular among younger people.
One tech influencer and YouTuber who waited in line for nearly 24 hours to become the first buyer of the new Fold series said the meaningful changes are what make foldable phones so special.
Bar-type phones, every single time when they release this, I feel like it's a minor improvement. However, for the foldables, every single year, it has a bigger improvement. For example, the Fold 8 has the whole different type of aspect ratio. Fold 8 Ultra has a bigger camera.
Foldable mobile devices have seen remarkable growth in just a few years and are still improving. And with growing demand for AI servers, memory and processor prices have skyrocketed, meaning reasonably priced smartphones could soon become increasingly difficult for everyday consumers to afford. At the same time, rising chip prices have given smartphone makers a strong incentive to focus on ultra-premium models to protect their profit margins. Manufacturers are now focusing on devices that appeal to consumers willing to pay more for exclusive features and larger displays. And with the world's largest smartphone builder, Apple, set to join the foldable smartphone race next month, competition in the premium smartphone market is only expected to intensify. 박준환, Arirang News.
As a severe heat wave grips Seoul, local communities are expanding efforts to help residents stay safe, from cooling shelters to free meals to hydration support. Shin-seon shows us how.
With feel-like temperatures reaching 38 degrees Celsius across much of Seoul, the highest level heat alert has been in place since Tuesday, while the heat island effect traps heat between buildings and asphalt. In response, the local governments converted around 4,000 community centers and senior citizen centers into cooling shelters, providing residents with free air-conditioned spaces.
The temperature outside of this community center is 36 degrees Celsius. But inside the cooling shelters, the temperature can come down to 27 degrees Celsius. For residents vulnerable to extreme heat, these shelters can provide them a chance to cool off before heat exhaustion becomes a medical emergency.
Listed on the Seoul Metropolitan Government's website and open for unlimited visits, cooling shelters also serve as a shared ground that infuses community spirit.
This center has served local seniors for more than 40 years, but anyone, not just members, can come in and take a break from the heat.
The National Disaster Management Research Institute says heat-related illnesses at home more than double during extreme heat, especially among elderly and low-income residents who lack regular health checkups.
If heat-related symptoms appear, you may not be able to respond on your own. So when outdoor activity is unavoidable, make sure you are with someone rather than alone.
Non-profit organizations such as the Buddhist-affiliated Wongaksa also provide relief from the heat, serving free meals that help residents regain their strength.
Preparing these meals is deeply rewarding for us. We serve simple, traditional home-style food, just like the meals people used to eat at home.
Founded in 1993, the center operates a year-round without a single day off, providing a daily meal to about 250 to 300 people.
I come here 3 or 4 times a week. Eating out is too expensive, so this free meal helps me save around 12 to 13,000 won each time.
For workers who usually consume caffeine, its diuretic effect can accelerate dehydration by causing the body to lose more fluid. To help offset that risk, free bottled water is handed out to pedestrians across the city. Experts say headaches and fatigues are among the earliest signs of heat-related illness, advising people to avoid unnecessary outdoor activity between noon and 5 p.m. when temperatures are typically at their highest. Shin-seon, Arirang News.
While cooling shelters provide relief from the heat, Seoul is also offering more ways to enjoy the summer season. From riverside camping to late-night swimming, the Hangang River has become a popular urban getaway. Hong Seo-jung reports.
Amid a gentle summer breeze, tents are set up beneath the trees. With sweeping views of the Hangang River,
Visitors relax in the shade, enjoying a peaceful escape from the heat. Families with children, couples, and foreign tourists have gathered at Yeouido Hangang Park for some camping in the heart of the city.
It's great for active kids to be out in nature. And having a place like this close to home, where we can enjoy the Hangang River, is really a great way to unwind.
Usually, camping overnight is not allowed along the river, but this summer, the city has designated special zones for camping at 4 riverside parks. Running from 5 p.m. to 9 a.m. the next day, the campsites are available free of charge through a reservation-only system with space limited to 100 camping spots per site. Visitors can bring their own tents or rent them on site. QR codes are also available to help foreign visitors easily place food delivery orders. Just a short walk away, swimming pools along the river stay open till 10 p.m. and offer another refreshing escape from the heat. Food stalls by the pool sell food such as ramen and roasted chicken and a range of beverages, while visitors can enjoy the pool at an affordable price.
The entrance fee is really reasonable at only 5,000 won. Going to a beach can be a bit of a hassle, but this place is nearby, so it's much more convenient.
As night falls, visitors order food that's delivered to a nearby delivery zone. With lights coming on, the campsite takes on a romantic atmosphere, allowing campers to relax and enjoy a peaceful evening. Meanwhile, the swimming pool comes alive after dark, with DJ performances on Fridays and weekends setting the mood as visitors soak up the energy of the summer night.
Once I got in the water and got back out, I definitely cooled down. It felt really refreshing.
At the heart of the city, this urban summer getaway that offers camping and swimming facilities will stay open throughout August. Hong Sa-jung, Arirang News.
That brings us to the end of Weekly News Highlights. Thank you for watching and enjoy the rest of your weekend.